Found GF cheated with EX, and he ended up uncaring. Now she begs to take her back. My 26M girlfriend, 29F, of 5 years has cheated on me since day one. No real way around saying it outright other than that. We met online on a game, and had both text and voice plus webcam chat from the beginning. She had told me about her ex before me, and how he was misusable, and didn't have his life together in the slightest. That she was looking to go further in her life, and have someone who wanted to do that with her. She drove up to see me, which was over 13 hours away, only 6 months into the relationship, for 9 days. She was everything I expected and then some. Shared my interests on gaming, anime, and nerdy stuff in general. Was not afraid to be outgoing when I was the shy one to help me feel less awkward. And accepted my acts of comfort when things as little as her hotel card not working would make her feel like she was ruining the trip. She was both my first kiss and also the one who took my virginity during that trip. Needless to say, after that I had completely trusted her without question for whatever stupid reason my head still can't wrap itself around. That was the only time we ever met IRL. The next 4 years in hindsight had many red flags that I'm only noticing as I think back. We would still have days where we talked for hours on end over video chat. There would still be days where we were both at work but sending voice messages and texts to one another, but they became less and less frequent. I figured it was because I was going to my 4-year college, and she had finished graduating and began her full-time job. Of course, that wasn't the case. The gist of it is that things got worse no matter how much I'd try my hardest to keep it strong, as my feelings didn't dwindle for even a moment. Every time I would offer to fly down there, she would find some way around it, and the next time a trip was planned for her to fly up here, the day, in fact, the hours before boarding the flight, she canceled for a reason that's clearly irrelevant. A long phone call and plenty of her fake tears later, we made up and I forgave her. As they say in most relationships that don't end well, it really sucked most of the time. But when it was good, it was really good. I quickly realized the girl I had fallen in love with had lost a lot of her self-esteem. Her drive to work died down, and eventually she was working retail jobs, instead of something that her degree and experience absolutely could have landed her. She complained that nights were long, that nothing was going right, and that aside from me her life was a living hell. By the end of it I had found out that she had sold a lot of the gifts I had gotten her behind my back on sketchy sites to try and hide it from me. It was right around then that out of nowhere she ghosted me. Needless to say, that relationship was unofficially ended until I recently found her Facebook, which she claimed to not have in the first place. Why I believed a girl born in the 90s doesn't have social media in the first place, I dunno. I found out that she changed her last name to her ex's. Not only that, but right around the time she ghosted me, she announced on Facebook that she was engaged to him plus was pregnant with his kid already over 4 months. If that wasn't enough to be the kicker, I curiously went to her ex's Facebook, and lo and behold found pictures of the two of them hanging out since the beginning of her and mine's relationship. She never cared about me from day one, despite sounding so genuine in every single word and action that she said and did. This is the first time I've ever been cheated on, and I truly hope that no one needs to experience this pain. It's more than just that I truly don't understand how I can trust anyone again. I would never want to do this. Everyone deserves their personal business, but it makes me at least understand why some boyfriends are more snoopy around their girlfriends and always asking them what they're up to. Goes vice versa as well, I know. Long story short, you truly don't know what you don't know. I hope for her sake and her kids that she learns that people's feelings aren't toys to play around with. A person deserves more than to be lied to blatantly. There's plenty to infer from this after looking back on it. Was her ex just continuously harping on her and forcing her to be with him, and she was too scared to say it in fear of her own life? Were they both in on it and the plan was for her to come up here, get knocked up by me and force me to give her money? Was it just that she has such a blackened heart and no care for a person's well-being other than her own? I'll never know. But I at least learned the truth of who she was those last 5 years. And it damn sure wasn't being the woman I fell in love with. We have reached the end of the story. Let's listen to some of the comments by our Reddit listeners. Comment 1. Brother, get experience dating lots of women and self-improve. Become a catch and increase your options over time as you become more attractive. You don't seem like you have a lot of experience with women. Having a solid relationship today, committed, is much harder due to social media and dating apps. However, through experience you can learn how to screen and filter women out who don't fit your criteria in a partner you want long term. OP reply, I appreciate it. You're right, she was essentially my first real relationship. I had girls I had crushes on, and were friend-zoned by, I suppose, and there were girls who just wanted a one-night stand, which I just couldn't bring myself to do. I guess for me, I don't really have that drive to just go out for fun when it comes to dating. When I look for a girl, I'm looking for someone who wants something long-term, and not just a one-night stand or something like that. I understand that not every person I meet, I'll click with or anything like that though. Going out and finding out if we have common interests / we vibe and other stuff is important and can't be found without trying it with multiple people. I understand my way of thinking is pretty linear, and maybe some change may be needed. It's a bit hard to step out of my comfort zone for sure though. Comment 2. I think the groom should know what kind of person she is marrying, since she was with you in a LDR with you while cementing a relationship with him. She will most likely cheat on him in the near future. OP reply, maybe. As far as I'm aware, she said she dated him once before me, but I have a strong feeling they have been on and off for years even before then. As I said, I can't really take anything she told me as truth, but she mentioned early on he was both misushive and stalkerish. I'm gonna guess she just has such low self-esteem that every time he comes back she feels obligated to go back to him for whatever reason. Luckily not my issue anymore, but while I don't condone her cheating on him, since I wouldn't want anyone, even my worst enemies, to feel this pain, I also can't help but assume it'll happen again, and now it'll affect a kid as well, which just sucks. Cheating GF went speechless when I confronted her, and it turned out she wants my money. My girlfriend and I have been together for 2 years. We're also each other's first relationship. Up until recently I have noticed nothing wrong with the way things have been progressing, until a few days ago when she said that she wanted to end things with me. However, she hasn't been able to give me a single concrete reason as to why we're incompatible or why things should end. Now she is trying to ease me into it and essentially friend-zone me by proposing that we remain best friends and provide each other with emotional support while we separate and detach from the romantic / sexual aspects of our relationship. Her reasons are several, but vague. 1. She feels we are drifting apart and that our priorities have changed. She feels I'm looking for stability, career building, and family, while she is looking for adventure. For context, her brother and uncle died 1 year ago in a rock climbing accident, and since then she has been trying to live life to the fullest and not take anything for granted, valuing travel and spontaneity in her life. I always supported her in that, and never tried to hold her back or pressure her into anything. It is true that I am trying to finish my degree and start working in the next few months, but I am taking things one step at a time, and have never closed myself off to the possibility of traveling and doing new things with her. I've clearly articulated that to her on multiple occasions. She also said that she doesn't necessarily want to bring me with her on new adventures, a stab in the gut for sure, but she didn't explain why. 2. She said she feels like she is in the relationship for convenience. To be fair, I've also felt like this occasionally, but I still love her at the end of the day, and want nothing more than to live life to the fullest with only her. 3. She doesn't feel like she can build a life with me anymore. She once did, but now she doesn't. I attribute this to the honeymoon period having ended and the chemical feelings having faded away, but honestly this is all she gave me besides the drifting apart explanation, and it doesn't give me anything to realistically work on or analyze. When we talked about these issues, she told me that she has been thinking about these things for the past 6 months, 1 year. That is insane to me and signals a huge red flag in our ability to communicate. Her reasons may be vague, but for example, the spontaneity could have easily been worked on. I would have gladly come up with date ideas and taken her places despite the restraints placed on us by the pandemic. None of her reasons for breaking up are due to irreconcilable differences. We were also planning on going home for her to meet my parents for the first time in August, which she was super excited for, but the the travel ban prevented her from going. I'm a US citizen, she isn't. She ended up doing a long-distance biking trip from Switzerland to the south of France, and met up with her friends to party. It was a wonderful alternative given the circumstances, but whilst I can get kind of anxious during a month of long distance, she stated that she didn't miss me at all during that time. Given her apparent feelings, that's fair enough, but it still doesn't give me closure. As I mentioned in the beginning, this feels like friend zoning, because she wants to remain best friends and divorce ourselves from romance and sex, even though our sex life is fantastic and always has been. I'm not perfect myself. I have my flaws that may have pushed her to feel this way, but she hasn't listed a single character defect or behavior on my end, which is confusing. The current state of the relationship: we saw each other for the first time in over a month on Friday when we both returned from our travels. We had our initial conversation on all the topics listed above, but she didn't explicitly say that she wanted to break up. After an hour, we put down the conversation for the night, and had what I now start to feel was breakup sex, fantastic and passionate, but with a feeling of finality, and slept together / spent the morning together like we always have. We then saw each other again on Monday, and had another conversation that went the exact same way it went on Friday. I had to press her repeatedly on what she meant by all of this, asking her if she wanted to end things, and barely got a yes from her, which to me signals that she's simply too scared to hurt my feelings and be direct. After that talk, we went our separate ways and agreed to see each other one more time. I told her over text later that night that it would be too painful to meet again in person, and that we should just have one more phone conversation and end it. When we talked on the phone, she said that my wish to not see her again was painful and made her sad. What the duck? If she really wants to end things, she shouldn't give me the impression that she still wants to see me. Nevertheless, when she said that, I immediately backtracked due to emotion and agreed to see her in person one last time so we could say our goodbyes. Though I honestly am not ready to say goodbye and think this whole situation is ducked up and can be fixed. She keeps saying that she wants this breakup to be something we come to a consensus on together. Her slow approach feels like she's trying to prepare me for euthanasia instead of just shooting me in the head and telling me it's over. The latter would be painful but preferable. Overall, I'm still in love with her, and think that the reasons she's given are vague and don't provide closure. No matter what, this breakup is not going to be mutual, and I don't see why we can't work on our issues and become a stronger pair because of it. But in the end, I can't force her to do anything, and honestly, if she wants to break up, she needs to work up the courage and do it. No selfish and naive friendship afterwards, just complete cutting off of contact, because I can't handle trying to be her friend while simultaneously working to move on with my life and get over her. I honestly don't suspect any foul play, since she doesn't seem like the type of person to cheat, and I trust her. But even if cheating were the case, it would be better to know that than try to make sense of her vague answers and slow emotional distancing. Hell, even if she simply said she wanted to be single again, I could understand. I just want her to clearly articulate herself so this all makes sense. Communication is something that can be worked on, which makes me want to fight for the relationship and make things better. But if she's made up her mind and there really is no way back for her, then I'll simply prepare for the worst. We are planning our next meetup for the end of this week / beginning of next week. Do I fight for the relationship or accept things are over? Thanks for reading. Please help me make sense of all of this.